Everybody, and gives me the greatest pleasure and actually honor in a way that I'm going to introduce this greatest book of all time, according to me. It's complete bias. Don't listen to me. And this is Leonard Piekoff, Dim Hypothesis. And I think my friends are all tired by my telling million times that read this book, the greatest book. But still, as an educator, I would like to only not come between you and Leonard Piekoff or anybody. And I'll read out the first page of the Dim Hypothesis as part of our series of first page of great books. I think this book is going to be the greatest, the top great books of the world. The Hypothesis: Why the Lights of the West Are Going Out. Do not pick up. And you have part one is epistemology, integration, the three archetypes, the two mixtures, dim means disintegration, integration, and misintegration, and the hypothesis. Part two, dim in modern culture, literature, physics, education, politics. This is integrative education. Part three, dim in pre-modern culture. What happened in Greece under these four: literature, physics, education, politics; Rome, literature, physics, education, politics; Middle Ages, literature, physics, education, politics; and finally, part four, the future. Identifying a culture's essence, the West's modal progression, the secular modes in the United States today, the anti secular rebellion. What's next? This is the most important book right now to stop, according to me, the religious fascist movement which has taken root not only in America but in all countries, though this is about the West. Now I'm going to read the first page of the dim hypothesis. Part 1, epistemology. Chapter 1, integration is a heading. And now I'm going to read the first page. The fall of Western civilization. The fall of Western civilization, if it does fall, can be traced to its beginning. I do not mean that its beginning led to its end. I mean the opposite. Our rejection of our beginning is what is killing us. My God. This is also a frontier book. That's why it's written like that. Very fresh. So don't come with some any preconceived notions to read this book. No, no, no. Read it with as much of a, as they say, without any. Just read them. Our beginning, our beginning was the discovery of the West's distinctive principle, which is implicit in the work of Thales, the father of Western philosophy. The most famous of his four remaining sentences is: All things are water. Why is this so great? Earlier cultures had perceived a vast array of material objects, right? Rivers and people, pots, cornstalks, stars, and grasped many differences among them, but they did not think nearly as much about similarities. It never occurred to them to ask whether there is a physical connection, a common ingredient or structure or pattern of action between pots and stars or between rivers and people. They never dreamed of asking whether there might be such connections uniting everything. Hence, the door to philosophy and science remained closed. Thales was the first man in recorded history to face the bewildering diversity of material objects and ask, do they all have something in common? Is there an underlying similarity that unites them into an intelligible whole? This riot of differences? And if so, what is it? A century later, Socrates, moving from physics to epistemology, theory of knowledge, carried the question to the field of language, the tool of thought. In regard to words, central to philosophy such as justice, knowledge, virtue, beauty, he and or Plato sought clarity by asking what is the common denominator uniting their various instances: knowledge, virtue, beauty, justice. What, for example, is the essence that makes all just acts, despite their many differences, instances of the same concept? The Greeks soon came to formalize their quest for connections in abstract and immortal terms. What they asked is the one in the many, a question that soon pursued in a wide variety of areas unknown to Thales or Socrates. Like earlier societies, the Greeks observed many different objects, but they proceeded further. They used these observations as a base from which to abstract, and thus to identify essentials and reach generalizations. This new approach of thought enabled them to theorize about every aspect of the universe. That's what we do now. It started then. It is because of that, including its elements, its laws, and even the processes by which man comes to gain this knowledge. The pre Greeks were the childhood of the human race. The Greeks were man, the rational animal, starting starting to grow up, starting to grow up. And this is just to give you a flavor, and I think it's a lovely flavor, isn't it? When a man like Leonard Peikoff sits with a guru like amazing genius like Ayn Rand, who is like an Aristotle of the modern times, and also studies for 50 years, and also completes his PhD, and also learns from people like David Harriman, who is an expert in physics. His book also, the Logical Leap, also I'll be reading as one of the frontier books. Okay, learns physics here, education there, learns of everything and puts it all together and predicts the future. That is a pinnacle of thought, isn't it? And we all can learn it. Actually, we all know it. It's all put together. It's not that we don't know it. It's that, and that is what he proves here. We have become disintegrated or misintegrated, religionism or nihilism. And the third alternative is integration, integrative education. And that's what I love personally also. This book is very personal to me for that reason. I believe that if we learn the basics properly, in depth of world history, and sciences and maths and literature and arts, it's all over. And that's why these frontier books are so useful. That's why I keep giving this list. In philosophy and in philosophy and history of philosophy, you can use Leonard Peikoff. In political economy, you can use George Reisman. In art, you can use Mike. I say use, not conclude or come to final conclusion. Art, you can use Michael Newbury. In literature, you can read all the literature of the world from this aspect, romantic realism, and uh, and you can read David Harriman, especially David Harriman. You can read, which I'll be reading out also, the Logical Leap, and also he has some very wonderful modules which I will put in the description also when I read him, um, on how to teach science inductively. Today we can teach science. Actually, we can. No? The knowledge has been discovered. The point is, the knowledge has been discovered of history. So we should learn history. The knowledge of science and maths has been discovered. So you should learn it. The knowledge of literature, whole literature, you can read it. That is why I sum it up by saying that if we can read the 100 or 100 plus books which have made our world, we will come to a pinnacle, sweep the whole world in a single space, especially with all this guidance, and bring about our own um, great impact. I believe this is going to be the future atom bombs, intellectual atom bombs, which suddenly will change the world. I believe. By 2126, we'll all be free of these monsters, of these pansies leaders who are making a hell of this world. Thank you.